Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to cover the Tuesday, March 13th Daily Fantasy NHL slate. We are recording at about 11 o'clock on Monday night, so we have the most recent DFS slate fresh on mind. DJ, how did your Monday go? Anything that you maybe learned from it or wanted to take away from it, or it's just one of those slates where you're just kind of taking it for what it is and moving on?
My take would change if my Shen Tarasenko Schwartz stack goes off. Right now, I'm looking at probably cashing, although they need to get me a goal. So I don't know. I'm fine with what I did. I'm not mad about it. I wish I had a little bit more time today. I was kind of running around getting everything together for my trip to Dayton, Ohio. I mean, that's where everyone's going these days. So I didn't really have a ton of time. So I guess my only takeaway is try to make more time when you're scheduling big last minute trips.
Of course.
To Dayton, Ohio.
I mean, it's not like, it's kind of a necessity that you had to schedule it at such a late time, but I get your point. Yeah, I mean, it was, obviously we still have 3 games going, the late games, but the early 5 were interesting because I thought I pretty much, I thought I pretty much nailed it. Like I think I have like across my 8 skaters, I have like 12 points already with Burns still going, like 12 like real life like DraftKings like hockey points. So like really good in that sense, but the peripherals weren't there for my squad. So kind of struggling. Mrazek in net obviously hurt.
Yeah, that was the worst. Now that I think about it, that's my biggest regret.
Yeah, so give me a strong team. I will find a way to pick the wrong goalie, and that's kind of how that cookie crumbles. But
yeah, as I mentioned in the group me, my lineup was the Titanic and Mrazek was the iceberg, and down it went. No, I mean, obviously, I'm just one big goal away from getting in the money, but Mrazek would have. I wouldn't even be worried right now if Mrazek would have got the W. Sounds like he lost it.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is just crazy though because it's like literally like we were a minute away from a 5-point swing if Pittsburgh picks up or Philly picks up a goal, and those 5 points are huge in daily fantasy, and goalie is just whatever. So let's go to the Tuesday slate. Another pretty juicy one ahead of us. We have 7 games here, so we've got Boston at Carolina. Carolina returning home. So Carolina on a back-to-back, but playing at home in this one. Dallas at Montreal. Same goes for Montreal. Montreal played in Columbus, now goes home, faces Dallas. Ottawa on a road back-to-back at Tampa, obviously having just played in Florida. Winnipeg, road back-to-back at Nashville after having just played and lost in overtime to the Capitals. Colorado at Minnesota. Edmonton at Calgary. And LA on a road, LA and Arizona playing. Sorry, LA's on a road back-to-back, having just played at home against Arizona or against Vancouver. Oh my God!
Take your time.
I was just thinking Vancouver, Arizona. They've just played like twice in the past couple of days, so I was like, wait, is LA playing Arizona tonight and then Arizona tomorrow? And I just kind of got lost there.
2 irrelevant teams. LA is playing back-to-back.
I mean, that is very true.
There we go.
So, all right. So we got 7 games here. We will mention a couple of the, I guess, podcast / group me related things towards the end of the show. Does that sound good? We start with the games. Yeah. All right. Boston at Carolina. Obviously, out. So that's big news there. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Riley Nash at 5.6, which is still just cracks me up every time I look at it. But let's see, is Backes back yet? I'm trying to count the games since his 3-game suspension.
I'm pretty sure it would be Backes is back. I don't know. Was it 5 games?
It was 3 games. So yep, he is back in this one.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
That's right. No, that's right. That's right. I can count. David Krejci has played in 3 games since then. So
I don't think you can count.
That is very true. I cannot count. All right. So I think that's kind of an interesting spot right there. David Backes, when he was playing, was on that first power play for Boston. Carolina loves to give up goals, even though they don't love to give up shots. So first power play kind of seems to be a key spot for, goals that come without a ton of shots. I like that price on him. Looking at the wings, we were looking at Rick Nash at 6,000. He continues to put up really strong shot numbers. I had a dud against Chicago last time out, but a couple of guys on the first power play who I like as a full unit, or a full power play unit kind of stack. What are your thoughts here on Boston and Carolina? Is there any merit to the Carolina team at home on a back-to-back?
I mean, I feel like they're definitely going to be very, very low owned, even though they're at home. I mean, on a back-to-back against Boston, I feel like a lot of people are going to probably – I think some people are going to pile on the Bruins a bit. Carolina will be low owned. Honestly, they really didn't – I mean, obviously they lost to the Rangers 6-3, and that doesn't look good on paper, but they had 44 shots on goal. I mean, Scott Darling just absolutely tanked their night. I mean, if any team needed a goalie to step up just one game here to keep them on pace for a chance at the playoffs, man, they got the wrong guy in net for that one.
Yeah.
I feel bad. He had 21 shots faced?
It's somewhere around there. I mean, it was
23 shots on goal. 23 shots on goal total. Okay. But did he get pulled? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't. It looks like empty net. Empty net. That's why. Okay. Yeah. So he only faced 21 shots, and he gave up. It's just so bad. I feel really bad for the Hurricanes. They're a really good team. I really like them this year. But honestly, in this matchup, I'm probably gonna end up. I think I'm gonna probably totally fade it. To be honest, I mean, I think Rick Nash should be the one guy that I would consider just kind of. I mean, at 6K, it might sound really egregious, but he is kind of like getting I don't know. It might just be egregious. I mean, it's tough. I feel like it's fair, but I probably won't even end up having it. I think this is a total fade for me. But Boston did go 11-7 with 11 forwards last game, but that probably would change with Backes coming back in. So, yeah, I think it's just going to end up being a fade for me.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. If we want to talk about these Carolina guys again, Justin Williams has been playing really well. He had 6 shots on goal on Monday night, following up a multi-point 4-shot on goal effort against Chicago. I mentioned how I liked that line, kind of the way Lindholm's been playing. I think Lindholm's a really good guy in terms of driving offense in the general direction of the other team's net. And Williams is a guy who's been using those shots at a pretty high rate. So I can see Williams being a strong play here yet again at only 4.7. He's like somewhere around the top 25 in shots per 60 recently, which is really kind of surprising, but also helps to kind of show, or helps to explain his game logs, which are really strong.
Yeah, I mean, Williams has been really good. Skinner did have 6 shots on goal again, but I mean, only 16 total minutes, and 3.5 of those came on the power play. So clearly, they're not really giving him the 5-on-5 time that I'd want to see. That's only 12 and a half minutes and 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Not maybe in this matchup, but it is a guy that at 5-1, just keep him in mind. Maybe not here, but another game. I mean, he's got 15 shots on goal in 2 games. So definitely a guy that's firing the puck. They're really trying to find some scoring, especially in a game against the Rangers where scoring was coming in bunches. So keep him in mind, but we can probably move on to Dallas at Montreal.
All right. Yeah. I mean, Torrey Krug, I think, is a fine play, but just relative to the other guys here, namely Hedman, Josi, Carlson, and then the Calgary guys, I don't see myself playing any Torrey Krug. So, but yeah, if you're stacking up Boston for any reason, I think Krug obviously makes a ton of sense on the first power play there. All right, Dallas at Montreal. Montreal, I mean, you mentioned, DJ, the Carolina Hurricanes putting up a really strong game, shots-wise. Probably a bit under the radar, but Montreal, I think, put up 45 shots up against Sergei Bobrovsky in a losing effort, but still, I guess, a valiant effort, to say nothing else about it. And we've got a lot of cheap guys here. So, obviously Dallas is a pretty good team, but I would consider Columbus a decent team as well. So, do any of these values on Montreal, like any of them, stand out to you? Brendan Gallagher's been red hot.
Just did you see his goal? His goal was pretty crazy.
I did not, but I know he.
I think it was a deflection in the midair, if I can recall correctly. Okay. I could watch the video right now on NHL.com because I'm looking at the game logs, but I will not because it distracts me for sure. He had 18 minutes power play time. I can't see the hockey viz like you can, so you want to look at it, but it does look like they spread the minutes pretty good. Yeah, I think Gallagher is a fair option. I mean, I played Paul Byron, which is probably the first time all season I played Paul Byron. He ended up having 0 shots on goal and an assist, so pretty typical Paul Byron game. He's probably extremely cheap, although 3.1. I don't know if he's like your ultimate punt. I don't think it's a great play because, like I mentioned, he doesn't shoot the puck very much.
Ever.
But him and Mike Riley are like probably the cheapest minutes and power play exposure together you would get. It's like what 3-1 and 3-1 for two guys that are going to get in between them probably like 20 minutes on average between them. Like Mike Riley will probably get 22 and Byron will get like 18, and they both play power play time. But it's not something that I would put in my lineup and feel good about. But obviously at that price, it's like you could get some really expensive stacks in. So it might be something that to consider.
Yeah, for what it's worth, on Monday, the power play units reverted back to Petrie on the first power play. So Byron was up there with Jewin, Galchenyuk, Gallagher, Petrie.
Well, then never mind what I said.
I mean, I just don't want to play. I don't want to play Paul Byron for obvious reasons. Like, yeah, he's cheap, but he also is downright allergic to shooting the puck. I mentioned it yesterday, and I don't know. What did Mike Riley end up doing fantasy-wise? Do you have any idea on Monday?
Tonight? Yeah. Oh, he had 3 shots on goal, 1 block shot, and 0 points. He had about 2 minutes of power play time and 22:42 total time on ice.
Yeah, so that's obviously decent, but I think you can get away with playing Mike Riley much more often than you can get away with playing Paul Byron because I just think you're left with like a donut. But it's now that they're playing on 5-on-5 together. If you play Gallagher and or Drouin, and you're just looking for a cheap filler guy, Paul Byron does make sense because he's on that first line, first power play. Keep an eye on the pregame skate though. If you do, the pregame warmups, if you do play them, just because coming off of a big loss, they could obviously change up the lines. That's a lot of time to spend on Montreal. I think I think the big target here would be the Dallas guys, the studs, Seguin, Benn, Radulov. Looking at their game against Pittsburgh the other day, they did Dallas things and basically split up the Benn, Seguin, Radulov to start. Didn't go so well. Put them together, and they all played a ton of minutes. So, it makes all the sense in the world on a slate like this to just jam in at least Seguin and maybe like a Radulov or something. So, I'm looking at this upper tier at center in particular. Where do you think Seguin fits in? For me, I think McKinnon and McDavid are superior plays, but the matchups are a bit tougher. So how do you kind of weigh those two things together in diagnosing where you're trying to go on this slate?
Honestly, Seguin, McKinnon, and McDavid, because McDavid is McDavid, so you always have to kind of consider him. I think they're clearly the top options at center. I wouldn't really consider Stamkos. I know he's completely stackable only. But I think Seguin could end up being a really nice play. I bet he goes a bit lower owned because McDavid's cheaper than him. So maybe he gets kind of forgotten about on the 7-game slate and could end up being that smash guy you need to win a GPP. So I think in GPP he's probably my top guy.
Look at their game logs. All right,
which one?
Seguin, McKinnon, McDavid, just in a row. Just click them.
They don't really make fast. Like they're really McKinnon's is just banana land. They're all so good. Honestly, I think you could probably fit in both, like 2 of them.
All 3 of them. Let's go.
Okay. Let's just see if I can do it.
All right.
What's the worst that can happen?
This is actually really fun.
All right, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm just gonna throw in Riley on defense first because I think you're probably gonna have to
Yeah,
We're
that
probably
makes
gonna have to
sense.
do that, and then we're gonna need a punt winger. Have we even gotten to any punt wingers? I mean,
I mean,
Byron, but
besides your guy Paul
what if,
Byron.
is Puljujärvi doing anything these days? Is he dead? I feel like he can
Yeah,
be.
he's kind of dead. I feel like Nino could be a guy up there. Apologies for the
Let's just look. So
brief
they went Auberg,
segue.
McDavid, and Nugent Hopkins, and
Yeah.
who in the world? All right, there's just a mistake on the last game for Edmonton on HockeyViz.
Why?
Who is Bear? That can't be a
Ethan.
real guy.
Yeah, Ethan Bear. He's like a decent prospect actually. He's been playing really well.
All right, so we're gonna throw Ethan Bear in.
Yeah, it's not Shane Goss's Bear.
Ethan Bear. BEA. I wish it was BE, like two E's and an R.
Yeah, that would be pronounced Nathan Beer. So
That
or
would be
Ethan
much better.
Beer. So
It
yeah,
does
I
not
mean,
look like he likes shooting the puck though. But you know what? To make this work, I'm feeling like he's gonna have a 2 assist night for us. And then
oh my god, this is
you want
actually
Nino?
this
You
is the
want
most
Nino?
fun I've ever had in my life. I think.
Okay, this could happen. Like I feel like you could actually put this
Oh, I
together with all
know.
three of
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of crazy. I mean, I really want some of that Giordano. Oh crap! I can't do both. All right, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna put Giordano in there, and I'm gonna take out Riley because I want some Ethan Bear. And then who would you like? Could you go with another guy on Calgary at wing? Maybe a
I
little.
mean, we'll get to some news, but both Clefbaum is out, which is why Bear is like jumped into play. Clefbaum had like a surgery or something, so he's out for like 2 games. And Matthew Kachuk, I think, is also he left the game and never came back. It looked really ugly, so I would be surprised to see him come back, but obviously it's not out of the picture. So there could be some nice value popping up on the Calgary side if that's where you're looking to kind of stack. But
All right, I put together. Oh
so
boy.
let me just summarize this in saying that it is absolutely possible to do it. If you if you really don't care about salary, you could even throw in Kucherov, and it literally could make a lineup work. But obviously, that's
Egregious.
yeah, that's like a bit too punty.
You
But yeah,
might need to go with the old what's his name? I'm trying to think of the goalie. Kemper narrative.
Oh yeah, yeah.
At home against LA, and you might have to really risk it here. Not
Yeah,
okay. Let's get back to the task at hand, though. All right, well, are we good on this game? Honestly, Dallas won.
Well, let's. Yeah, I mean, let's. So, obviously, it's really tough to rank them, but if you were going to rank these top 3 centers that we're trying to jam in, where would you have? How would you order them?
Seguin, McDavid, McKinnon.
Okay.
And you?
Wow, that's. I'm gonna go McJesus and then McKinnon and then Seguin.
Wow.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's so ridiculous how good all of them are. But okay. Just those game logs really threw me for a loop because
I'm still my head's kind of spinning still as well. Yeah, okay, so why don't we get to the next game though? Unless there's anything you want to mention on Dallas.
Speaking of incredible talents, we've got Ottawa at Tampa. Obviously, the incredible talent I refer to is Mike Hoffman because he's my hero. But no, actually, Nikita Kucherov is going against, at home, going against an Ottawa team that, we know they're not good. They did just beat the Panthers, so props to them. They played decently and whatnot. But I mean, good lord, like this slate is really ripe for some awesome upside here. So, I think we'll get to our top stacks at the end of the show rather than just continually trying to fit in these stacks. So just know that Kucherov and Stamkos were playing alongside JT Miller in practice this morning and to end the most recent game. So JT Miller experienced a very significant price jump as a result of this. He's already 5.5. So, I don't think he's all that much in play. Like if you weren't playing the Mestikov at 5.5, you're not playing him. Not playing JT Miller. If you were playing the Mestikov and can look past the lack of shot floor and just go straight for that upside, sure, whatever. But do note that Miller was not getting power play time with Kucherov and Stamkos. So that's really how that one shapes up. So outside of the top line in Tampa, DJ, is there anywhere in this game that you're looking to target, maybe more so than anywhere else in the game?
I mean, I really like Braden Point. It's going to be really hard to stomach his price.
Yeah.
But he's been really good shot producer as of late. He got some looks with Tampa Bay's first power play. It looks like
that was the 4-on-3 power play.
That was a 4-on-3. Is that why? Because that makes sense. They only have 4 of them. Yeah. I just feel like he's definitely a guy that they're getting out there in all of the.
He is a guy.
I'm just saying like
I get it.
He's so talented. He's so good that they gotta when there's an offensive situation, you want him on the ice. So I really like him. It's gonna be really almost nearly impossible for me to put him in over not trying to jump up to McDavid. He's not so far out of the ballpark of those top guys. I don't know. It's definitely someone I'm going to consider, but he's kind of a lone kind of solo guy. I mean, do you think he ends up being with Johnson and?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where he ends up, but I really have a hard time just not finding the $1,000 to get up to that tier of Seguin, McKinnon, McDavid. Sacrifice your goalie if you have to. Honestly,
these Tampa guys are just so incredibly expensive.
That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, they're really good. They're really balanced. I mean, heck, they've, I think Yanni Gourde had a 3-point game the other day. So the scoring can come from anywhere. They're all priced according to that, that fact. And so as a result, I really don't think any of their prices make a ton of sense. So if you're gonna play this game, I think you just have to go with Victor Hedman. Another slate though, another opportunity to just jam in Jean-Gabriel Pageau, as we all expected to begin the season. We're just gonna spend the month of March jamming in Pageau. But again, he played first power play. He played, first line minutes, no Mark Stone. It almost came back to bite him. He ended up picking up a goal really late in the Florida game to ice it for them. But the minutes were there. The peripherals were there. I think he had 4 shots plus blocks in the game. And yeah, I mean, he's just doing exactly what you want out of him. You're going to see that Pajärvi was on the first power play to on Hockey Viz if you're looking at it tomorrow. But don't worry about that. Pageau took a coincidental minor while out there on the first power play unit. So that was, 1, it was pretty tilting, but 2, it was also a bit of an annoyance in that they had to put out someone else on that first unit. So yeah, Pageau 3.7, a really great value yet again. I'm not really looking at Hoffman, Duchesne. Duchesne just had a 2-goal night, but they're mid-tier prices, but I think that I think there's other spots in the mid-tier that I'm looking to go rather than an Ottawa team on a back-to-back, on the road. So let's go to Winnipeg at Nashville, unless you had anything else, Deej?
Nope, I was ready to go to Winnipeg at Nashville.
Awesome. Yeah, no real news came out of the game today between the Jets and the Capitals. I'm sure we'll talk about Ovi hitting 600 at some point when Washington's on the slate. That was really cool. But we saw the first line of Little, Wheeler, and Kyle Connor play all of the minutes. Kind of expected. And then the second line of Stastny, Laine, and Ehlers pick up the solid top 6 minutes that that we hinted at with no Scheifele. You're just going to expect this Stastny, Laine, Ehlers unit to pick up a lot of those minutes that would go to maybe split between Little and Scheifele, essentially, because they're down to top 6 center. They're basically down to top 6 line because of that. And the third line steps up to the second line and gets a ton of minutes as a result. Laine scored again. I'm not sure if you noticed that.
He's so good.
Is it ever going to stop?
Nope. He just decided it's time to score, and he's not going to stop. It's his new thing. I mean,
it's scoring time. I mean, yeah, now he's got to keep up with Ovi.
Honestly, I love Greg Wyshynski's impression of Laine more than I love anything in the world.
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard that yet, then
my grandfather
the first
invented DraftKings. He was he was priced at 6,900 on DraftKings on the. All right.
Basically, watch Line's interviews, and he sounds exactly like that, and he just says things that are just so perfect.
Yeah, it's very it's very Eurocentric. Kicked off. I mean, even before you was drafted. Do you remember when he was interviewing with Catherine Tappan, and he's like on an iPad FaceTiming with her, and he's literally laying in bed, like just like uncapped, like unshaved, like no hair done, nothing. It was hilarious.
He just is the GOAT. Okay, anyways, yes. Nashville. Do you think that they have the upper hand here with Winnipeg on a road back-to-back, and I think the third game in 4 days?
Yeah,
third. Third in 4 days.
Sure. Yeah, I think that Nashville has the upper hand. I think they've actually been playing better as well. They've put a lot of separation between themselves and Winnipeg. You know, Winnipeg's been playing fine, but Nashville is actually not on another level, but they're like a really, really, really strong team right now. They appear to be back at full strength. Last game, Josi returned to the lineup, and you know, it doesn't seem like they could go out and rest another couple guys or whatever. But I don't really see that happening. So I think that Nashville's in a really nice spot here, but I don't know. The prices are they've crept back up a little bit for Arvidsson, for Forsberg. You know, I mentioned the defenseman to begin the show. Like, yeah, I love Josi. I love Subban. Ellis has been playing unbelievable lately, but I don't know. Am I going to play them over the Calgary guys who also have sick correlations and who, you know, who I think are more focused on rather than kind of splitting time like the Nashville guys do, splitting power play opportunities? I don't think so. So I'm not really seeing much here on the Nashville side, even though I do like them as a team, that I'm really interested from a daily fantasy standpoint. So are you noticing any like strong values or, you know, just smash plays that you're kind of anticipating playing?
No, I kind of feel like this is a trap game. I think if I was going to go anywhere, it'd be on the Nashville side, but I really can't imagine spending up on these wingers when I'd rather spend up at center and try to find correlation elsewhere. So I kind of feel like this is a stay away game for me. I think Winnipeg's going to really try to slow the pace. So, yeah, I mean, I think Morrissey's like a fair punt potentially. His block with shots have been all right as of late, but I can't imagine just having him as a solo when Mike Reilly might be a better option. I think Morrissey's a far and away better defenseman, but I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean the obvious issue there is the power play time. But I'm not a big Mike Reilly fan. Like, even when he played in Minnesota, yeah, the minutes weren't there much for him, but he didn't put up like the rate numbers, like shots wise, that I like to see. You know, I don't know if Morrissey necessarily has a great shot floor, but he's certainly shown a really, really good block shots floor, at least, that I don't think Mike Reilly really has to offer. And we've seen it time and again that Morrissey is getting 20 plus minutes. So it's not like that's a differentiator either. So I actually do kind of like Morrissey over Reilly if I had to pick him straight up.
That's fair. I mean, I'm going to look into the numbers a bit. Actually, to be honest, I'm probably not going to play tomorrow because I'll be in Dayton. But
yeah,
I might make one lineup.
Who can blame you, really? But
I mean, when you have to watch the St. Bonaventure Bonnies beat up on UCLA, I mean,
oh my God,
you just feel bad sometimes when like you're the big school and you just have to go in and take down the smalls. It's just like sometimes you want to take a break.
Yeah, I mean,
they have nothing there. They're in the middle of nowhere in Los Angeles.
Terrible weather.
They just don't understand what it's like to be at a beautiful Olean, New York. So, you know, you just feel bad, but I gotta go watch them, gotta support my boys.
Yeah.
But we can move on. We can move on to any other game. I'm honestly, this game for me is probably a fade. Is there anything you wanted to mention last second before we go on to Colorado, Minnesota?
No. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a pretty safe fade. But all right, let's go to Colorado, Minnesota. We know the Nathan MacKinnon factor. Over the weekend, he played with he started with a new set of line mates that quickly reverted back to Landeskog and Rantanen. So whatever. They beat up on Arizona, which probably, it tells me that Landeskog, Rantanen will remain MacKinnon's wingers for the time going forward. But what we did learn is that the coach kind of sees Rantanen as the main guy alongside MacKinnon rather than Landeskog, because when they did split him up, it was Landeskog dropping a line and Rantanen staying on that line. Interestingly, there's now a 1.2 thousand difference between Landeskog's price and Rantanen's price, probably as a result of that line change. I don't really think that Landeskog is all that great a play, but I think here when he's only 5.3, I'm going to say it's a pretty bad matchup. I still think Minnesota's a decent team, but when you're playing alongside MacKinnon, matchup is basically irrelevant. I think if you're playing MacKinnon, it makes much more sense to play at Landeskog than it does Rantanen, because I don't think Rantanen's anything all that special on his own. And like we mentioned before, you can use that $1,000 in savings to go, from a Braden Point up to Seguin or a McDavid in your lineup to go with it. So do you kind of agree with me there? And do any of these Minnesota guys catch your interest?
I feel like the guys that I would like out of Minnesota are kind of coming up in price, but I do think Minnesota could actually be in a pretty decent spot here. I think we both would agree that Colorado is pretty susceptible to giving up decent goals in bunches right now. Their defense is not good.
It's bad, yeah.
It's bad. It's straight up bad. So I do think Minnesota's and the prices aren't so incredibly egregious. Like, you're not going to be able to stack up, the top line for Minnesota and Tampa Bay by any means, but maybe that kind of differentiation will really set you apart in GPPs. So I'm totally down to look at some Parise, some Nino. They both stack up on a line together. Dumbo was not their point man on the power play, although it does kind of look like their power play was just kind of crazy. But I think it always looks like that.
Yeah, but it's, again, what they do is they run the forward lines. They have two top six lines, and then they have Suter, Spurgeon. Whoever's ready forward-wise to go, they go with Suter, Spurgeon, and the other line goes with the other set of D-men. So,
well, it looks like just Dumba was on 1 point, and then they had Nino.
Okay, so they moved Coyle.
They moved Coyle. Yeah. So I think that you could. I'm fine with Dumba. I'm really fine with any of the three defensemen here for Minnesota. Is there one that you might like more than the others?
I don't think I'll be playing any of the defensemen. To be honest, we mentioned this mid tier is so loaded. Yeah. I don't see these guys being better plays than Subban, Giordano, Hamilton, like right there in price. But if I had to pick one, it would be Ryan Suter. Just I think he's the guy there. But that's nothing, like, there's no conviction behind that. Yeah. Like, in a vacuum, they're fine plays, but on this slate, I don't think they're optimal, just because their shot floors aren't there relative to these other guys.
So are you looking at the Parise and Nino, or are you kind of looking at Granlund, Zucker, Eric Stahl? Well, I guess Koivu is with the two other. Go on.
Yeah. It's, I prefer Eric Stahl in that line. Stahl's been, let's give Stahl his credit. Like, we looked at MacKinnon, McDavid, Seguin. Like, Stahl's been just as good as each of them. But I'm just not as confident that it will continue going forward. Like, I think that you have to be price sensitive here on this slate. And when Minnesota is like a secondary option, I think you have to find the value. And where that is that Niederreiter, Parise, Koivu line. They're not getting any, noticeably different like exposures in terms of minutes or power play. So I really like Niederreiter here. I think that price is just, I think it's just off, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's not been like world beating or anything, but he's just a good player. And for 4,000 in a top 6 role in a good matchup, like with power play time, I think you have to look at it, just because he's such a good rate player, like, for his career now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be tough to get Minnesota 1 in tomorrow. They're just kind of a little bit too expensive, but if you really like Minnesota 1, then I think it's going to be really, really good way to differentiate. I mean, I like Zucker and Eric Staal a lot. I think that's a great opportunity for a stack, but again, like it's gonna break the bank a bit. I don't think it's quite as good as trying to get the McDavids and the McKinnons in, but I guess yeah. I think who would you go with? McKinnon, Landeskog, or would you rather go Eric Staal and Zucker? Because I mean, honestly, actually the McKinnon one would be a bit cheap. If we went Rantanen, McKinnon, or Eric Staal, Grantland, or Zucker, is there one you like more than the other?
Man, that's an interesting one because obviously Minnesota is going to be favored, so I don't know how much that impacts things relative to the fact that I think McKinnon's much more kind of focused on, because I really enjoy the kind of going for guys who have a condensed role, like very, I keep saying focalized, it's not a word, but where everything kind of goes to McKinnon, I think that's where I would end up. Minnesota can throw either of those power play units at you, and they'll probably be fine. Colorado's going to throw McKinnon at you every time. So that's why I would go with McKinnon there.
Yeah, it looks like they're almost like the exact same amount. Like if you put the full first line of Colorado and the full first line of Minnesota, I think they're the exact same price. So it's like nice. Really, really could actually be like one where I don't know. I think I'd lead towards the Minnesota one. I honestly I'm starting to kind of like it more than I thought because it really would be a cool way to get contrarian GPPs. But for the Parise, Nino, I think Nino just kind of as a one-off would be pretty fun. But why don't we get to Edmonton, Calgary? I think this might be the game that we're kind of most interested in.
Yeah, I would agree.
There's a lot of interesting notes, at least, and et cetera, and that's kind of what we do here. So why don't we get into it? I just found a quote, actually, that I totally exited out of, but it basically said that it was from what's Calgary's coach's name? Because I can't find it now.
Glenn Gillette. Would you like me to imitate his quote?
Yes.
Expletive.
Oh, that
expletive. That's not what you were going for?
Well, that one I did hear about that one as well, but I also saw like he said that Backlund, Monahan, and Tkachuk all have maintenance days and will update tomorrow. And they asked are they gonna play? And he said if all three guys are out tomorrow, a lot of guys are gonna need to step up. So, kind of saying that like they're not definitely gonna come back. But
I mean, I think that Tkachuk is definitely a question mark.
He's a question mark. I don't know about the others. Is there anything? Like, they're all day to day right now on PK.
I mean, the other two finished the game for sure. So
yeah,
I mean, unless it was something nagging, but
Calgary is pretty priced up tomorrow. On at least on forwards, especially the top line. But I think where we both are kind of leaning towards is their two top defensemen with Giordano and Hamilton. So what are your thoughts on playing one over the other or both?
Just both.
Both? I'm totally down for it, honestly. It's really good.
Unstoppable. They just play so well off of each other. They're not defensemen in that sense of the word. Like, they are literally out there looking to turn the ice into like a 5-man attacking squad. If God forbid the other team, Edmonton of all the teams, turns the puck over at the blue line, like Giordano and Hamilton are going to just crash the net. Like, there is no better example of that than the goal Giordano scored on Sunday against the Islanders. Like, he scored it directly net front from Hamilton only. There was nothing else that happened. It was Hamilton to Giordano crashing the net and getting a goal. Like, you don't see defensemen do that. And when you combine the just insane floors that both of these guys provide you, their upside is so great. That unless God forbid, Monahan and Backlund and Tkachuk are all out. If just Tkachuk is out, I think that's fine. I don't think that really impacts things all that much. So until we get news that like Calgary's playing with, I guess, Curtis Lazar on their first power play or something, I will definitely be going with the double D stack of Dougie and Gio.
Yeah, I really agree with that a lot. I'm totally on board with it. But what about on the Edmonton side? Isn't this going to be another game Klefbom misses? I know he missed the last game.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure it's like – so we already mentioned Bear. I know I kind of like went into that when I kind of was messing around a little bit. But, like, is he actually potentially in play on McDavid's power play? I mean, he might not shoot the puck, but would you say he's in play, or would you look at Nurse, who didn't see any power play time, or Sekera, who it looks like got a little bit of time?
No, I mean Ethan Bear, like they seem to like him. He's not going to be like a dominant defenseman. I mean, for 2.8, like what do you really need? I think that's a great place to find value. We should get more clarity if Bear's going to stick on that unit. I would imagine that to be the case. They've won 3 straight now, which I guess coaches are less likely to change things up just for the sake of it when they're winning games. And McDavid is so unbelievable that I think getting exposure to him through his power play defenseman makes a lot of sense. I did want to take a look at his AHL numbers this year, though, just to see if we could learn anything more about him. So, are you seeing anyone else on Edmonton? Maybe some any news that you think impacts things on the forward end?
I mean, but the first line of McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Aberg. But it does look like Aberg was not exactly on the first power play, although McDavid, it looks like he stayed up for the entire power play time against Minnesota. Like, he just didn't come off the ice. So Pontus Aberg, I mean, 3.6 isn't terrible. It's fine. He's probably going to see around 15 minutes of total ice time. He's okay. Only has 2 goals on the year. It's not safe. Nugent Hopkins maybe a bit more safe at 5.2. I don't think it's a terrible price. If you're going McDavid and you want to stack, I think that's probably your best option to stack him with, although he didn't see any power play time. So you're kind of – I don't know. They really rolled 4 lines too, so you didn't see much correlation between McDavid and anyone else. Why is there news that you saw that I didn't see?
No, I'm looking at the power plays. Just trying to remember what happened. I don't think I got to watch this game. So
I definitely didn't. I don't know. Honestly, they haven't played since Minnesota. Klefbom officially is out though. I'm reading. I'm not seeing anything to confirming Bear's going to play. There's just not that much. Maybe they'll run a skate tomorrow and they'll get a change of lines, but overall, I think it could just be a McDavid one-off type of game, and that's not the end of the world.
Yeah. So what's interesting here is that Aberg was on the ice for both of the power play goals that they scored. So meaning that the power play unit at the time of one of the goals was McDavid, Lucic, Draisaitl, Bear, and I think Aberg. Yeah, Aberg would be there. So there's a 5-man unit. Makes a lot of sense just replacing Strome with Aberg. And then the other one was McDavid, Lucic, Sekera, Puljujarvi.
And Aberg.
And Aberg, yes. Yeah. So that's interesting. Just because I did not expect Pontus Aberg to be used like that. I don't know if it lasts, to be honest. But that's certainly an interesting kind of not throwing caution to the wind, because he's 3.6 playing on McDavid's wing at 5-on-5 anyways. But I think that's a really, really nice spot to take advantage of. People might not know that Aberg was on the ice for both of the power play goals last game. So could be some awesome hidden value there to take advantage of. But I do see what you're saying in playing McDavid as a one-off. That's obviously always a factor. He can break 2 breakaways in a game literally no one else in the league can. And, I think playing a guy like Draisaitl, even on his wing at the prices that, anything above 6K, I think is just really tough to spend on Leon Draisaitl, as good as he is, just because he's so dependent on McDavid and he's going to be really expensive. So, these lines are interesting though. I think there's some value you can draw from it.
Definitely, I think that's probably my favorite game on the slate. I'll definitely have exposure to it if I end up playing, which I'm going to try to, but by 6 p.m., I don't know if I'll be in the best state to make too many lineups. But why don't we move on to the last game, LA at Arizona.
Let's do it.
It's kind of weird. LA on a back-to-back in Arizona. Clearly, they're going to be the favorites, but Do you have any interest in this LA side off the top? Well, they're on a back-to-back, but they were home on Monday night, so it's like
Yeah.
it's not quite as bad.
So I mean, realistically, I don't have much interest at all. I'm not that sold on LA being, a team that I want to go out of my way to target. We're not getting a discount on any of them. I did like Kopitar on Monday night. It remains to be seen how that goes. Probably won't go well though, in all honesty, because he's not a great floor guy. And when we have some of I mean, now on this slate, we have Sagan, McKinnon, McDavid on the slate right there at the same price as Kopitar, give or take like a couple hundred, basically. So I just don't see any way in which that's, you know, I don't think it's a smart play. Like you can say GPP all you want, but I really don't see the difference between like a 10% 10% Kopitar versus a 20% McDavid or something like that. I don't see anyone being, too incredibly high that makes Kopitar at even like 4 or 5% worth it. So I just kind of wanted to caution that. On a similar note, Jeff Carter at 6.8. Am I missing something? Like, yes, we
Yeah,
know
right.
we know Carter's like a really, really good player, and he was this good last year. But through 13 games now this year, he's got 9 points. Um, like the shots are he has 40 shots, like barely 3 shots per game. I'm not seeing what's worth paying 6.8 for him, especially when
No.
they're not using Toffoli on his line. So he's literally dragging around Tobias Reeder and Trevor Lewis tonight. Like I just don't get how you can pay these prices for the LA Kings guys when there's other options here that are just better, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, this game feels like a pretty big fade. There definitely is some value on the Arizona side, as there always will be. Do you have any thoughts on Richard Panik? He's kind of had a pretty good shot for as of late at 3-3, and he's been on the first power play unit. Is there any thoughts on him being a decent punt? I mean, Cutcherin was also on this first power play. I mean, his shots have maybe he's gonna maybe come back into his own.
Yeah, I mean,
any interest in his value on a back-to-back team? It
I
doesn't
think yeah,
feel good, but
honestly, I think yes to both. I think the prices. I mean, so what I like about Chychrun is that we've seen him like do this before. We've seen him be a great DFS play. Um, so for 3.5 with his role like kind of re-expanding again, I think you're catching him on the upswing. I dig that power play unit. You mentioned Richard Panik as well. When you're getting 5-of-5 exposure and power play exposure to two guys in Derek Stepan and Clayton Keller, like Panik is right now, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're trying to jam in some of these upper tier studs. That's probably a better stack than the Byron and Riley or something like that we tried to mention earlier. I do think that mini power play stack, has a decent floor all by itself, and then the power play upside as well. And that's where I
like
think you got to go.
Yeah, I think if you're going to try to get the three-headed monster of McDavid, McKinnon, and Sagan, you're probably going to have either a Riley. Well, actually, the Riley, who was it? Byron stack really isn't that good on paper if they're not going to be on the same power play. So
right.
I think the Chychrun Panik stack could be the one you're going to have to jam in with it. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it, honestly.
All right, cool.
Why don't we shut it down though? So do you want to do goals and stacks first, or?
Yeah, let's do goals and stacks first.
Right. I'll go with the double defenseman and Gaudreau as my top expensive stack. Honestly, you could put Monahan with it as well. I honestly am starting to like Sean Monahan. I think a little bit more and more as the season progresses. If he's healthy, I think Monahan you could slip in there as well. But I think Gaudreau for pretty much the same price as Monahan, and then the two defensemen being Hamilton and Giordano are going to be take it if you want it too, dude. There's only 7 games. It's not like we have to have completely different stacks, but I wanted it
my
first.
Plays.
All right, then it's your play. Just take it too. It's not a big deal.
Let's not get too ridiculous here. I'm going to go with McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Aberg, and Ethan Bear. I think that RNH fits in nicely alongside McDavid. I didn't expect it, to be honest. Like Draisaitl there, and he was doing well. And we just kind of figured that RNH would come back and be on, be on that second or third line, depending on what they were doing, and kind of run his own little ship. But putting him alongside McDavid now, I mean, hell, I think he's every bit as good as Leon Draisaitl for daily fantasy. He might not be quite as flashy, but he was first overall for a reason, and he's been really good since coming back from injury. So I can really
do the full game stack. We could, because you could fit both of those stacks into.
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can really. Yeah, you can for sure.
It's really my favorite game of the night. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to mention that as as an option, because I was like looking at it, I'm like, could you realistically put all 6 of those players in a lineup? And
yeah, it's
possible. Point. It's possible. Except not if you put Bear into your, because you have to put Bear in the utility, and that would really open it up to like any goalie you want. So like, let's say you're really feeling Vasi, then you'd have 4-4 for a center. If you actually put every single one of them into, not including Monahan, by the way.
Right.
Predecessor. So just a little something you could toy around with when you're making your lineup. So cheaper stacks. Do you want to go first this time?
Well, I mean, I feel like my stack was kind of cheap.
Okay.
It was really cheap, actually.
I'll go with the Parise Nino stack, and then I mean you would go Dumba there, but yeah, I probably wouldn't end up having a defenseman there personally.
Yeah, I think that's the smarter play there.
Okay. And then do you have an expensive stack? I mean, pick of the freaking litter. There's quite a few out there.
Man.
It's really, what is it, between Dallas and Tampa for you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Tampa guys. I feel like not that they're gonna go under the radar. I mean, we know they're not gonna go under the radar, but I don't see them being, unrealistically or higher owned than any of the other 3 like really studly stacks that we just mentioned on the show. So I think this is a smash spot. Tampa actually is in the number 2 on my list of teams. Calgary's number 1 in terms of last 10 games, but like the other guys that we're talking about, Colorado's dead last because they're just not a good team. Dallas is middle of the pack. So I think Tampa has that kind of sweet spot of, I want to get exposure to them as a team, and they have individuals who are just incredibly, incredibly good. So I think if I'm stacking in tournaments, that Kucherov Stamkos is at least gonna be in some of my teams. If not all of them, I think I'll be overweight on those 2.
Okay, that's definitely fair. One thing I was kind of going to mention is it does feel like a lot of the top kind of power play stacks are pretty expensive. So one thing that might be interesting to do is kind of toy around with all of them in in different lineup scenarios and kind of see how much each of them is. I mean, it's pretty easy to just kind of put them all in a lineup and see what it does to your remaining salary. It might be a good idea to kind of take all these top stacks, look what it leaves you with, and kind of mess around with them that way, and then kind of go into the projections and then see maybe what projections that you use are saying about each stack to see what might end up being the best one for you tomorrow night. Because, I mean, you're not going to probably be able to get 2 top-tier stacks in a lineup. You'd have to, we gave some decent cheap stacks away, but I don't know if you could do it. I don't think there's any way to get Tampa 1 and Dallas 1. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying there. Like, there's always, not only is every slate different, but every kind of roster build is different too. So just kind of being cognizant of where a slate is deep and where a slate is weak can really help you get a better feel of who to play, when to play certain guys. Like, there are times when you just take the underpriced guy in a bad matchup because everyone else in that tier is just not a great play. And then there's other times where you go he's underpriced, but he's in a bad matchup, and I can spend 1,000 more and get a guy in a smash spot or something along those lines. That I think changes with every slate. So I like what you said about testing out a bunch of different builds and a bunch of different stacks and seeing how you feel about them. So, yeah. All right, a couple of housekeeping notes before we head off into our Tuesdays. Do you want to lead off with the Listener League in February? Or actually, I guess we don't have official results.
Yeah, we don't have the official results, and we're not. We can't see the actual contest, so I'm not even positive we want to announce it until we see it tomorrow. But the head-to-head was run tonight to see the winner of February. We'll get that person on, being as we're only kind of sure on who one of them is. We will find out. But anyways, we'll announce that next podcast, which will be recorded Wednesday for Thursday.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. So that will be long. The big thing though, Matt, I will send it to you. Do you remember the name?
Oh, yes. So in honor of the March Madness bracket going on right now, yes, in honor of St. Bonaventure making the tournament, the Morning Skate podcast, we're looking to host the Morning Skate Madness. We're going to try and run this through GroupMe, but I thought it would be a really interesting idea to kind of go along with the tournament. So instead of, which I believe, DJ, you can mention this after, we will have like a actual NCAA bracket like for our listeners, for our GroupMe, just to kind of mess around with, because March is an awesome time of year for sports. But I'm trying to set up a bracket head-to-head tournament with 16 teams. I was hoping to get like $5 a person to pay in. I'll just put it in a PayPal account. And then at the end of 5 rounds, so 16 down to 8, down to 4, down to 2, down to 1, that winner would get the full pot, so $80. If you're interested in doing something like that, please send me a DM on Twitter or a message in the GroupMe. You can find me on Twitter at Fake Moods. I'm really looking to get this thing hopefully up and going by Thursday to kind of co-align with
that's the first night.
Yeah. So if we get enough interest
tomorrow, but
the first day, I guess. So to kind of go along with that, we can set up I'll do a random draw for seeds. But if we get 16 people, I think that would be a lot of fun. It'd be really fun to follow, especially as the couple weeks go along. I was thinking, start at this Thursday, and then do next Tuesday, next Thursday, and then again the Tuesday after and the Thursday after. So just sticking to like the really big slates, and that gets us done pretty quickly as well. And I think it'll be an interesting thing. So if you're looking to just spend $5 and do a fun little tournament style, this will be in addition to our regular free listener league, so be sure to join that if you haven't yet. But we can just set something up where it's a head-to-head tournament, so I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be it really won't take too much time to set up. I already found some images online, so I could make it up really easily. So are we gonna open up just to GroupMe first, or do you just want to open up to everyone?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I get more than 16 responses, I will pick the people from the GroupMe first. But I'm hoping by Wednesday night to be able to kind of announce the seeds on the podcast. So be sure to get a hold of me really quickly so I can jot your name down and save it somewhere.
If somehow we get 32 teams, that would also work.
Obviously,
more around. So if anyone, please message us, let us know. 32 or 16, but we're gonna have to limit it to one or the other, unless if we could do like a playing game or two.
Yeah,
that seems like a whole lot extra effort and a whole extra round. So we'll try to run it on slates that are like 5 games or above to kind of get rid of the kind of randomness. Although anyone can win, Yes, I think that made sense.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're just gonna stick to Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. If that's if we get enough people in a quick enough fashion. So.
Yes.
I think that'll be fun. So definitely reach out to me.
Yes, but by Thursday, we'll have something posted on Twitter, and we'll be following along closely to see who ends up getting the W. But when it's me, it's okay.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you wanted to do a GroupMe actual bracket, so stay tuned for details on that as well. Just something for fun.
Probably ESPN. I'll make it, and then just let me know if you want in, and it'll be for $0.00.
Yes, it'll be GroupMe. So.
And then you can watch me pick Bonaventure to win the championship and go out tomorrow against UCLA. It's gonna be really great.
Well, then you'll just be rooting for UCLA to win the tournament.
I can't do it. I would just throw up. Honestly, I probably won't make a single bracket until after tomorrow, because if Bonaventure's out, I'm gonna cry. No, I'll be fine. I mean, I'm going to be in the big city of Dayton, Ohio, so I can really go nuts and do whatever I want.
Wait, we didn't do guaranteed goals. Okay.
Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley. I think they're both going to go off tomorrow night. All right. You got yours?
No, actually, I don't. All right, screw it. Yeah, I do. I got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for 5.2. Leaves me with about 6.8 for the next guy. I don't need it. I'm going Dougie Hamilton, 5.5. He's lighting the lamp on Tuesday Slate.
All right, Sagan, Nino Niederreiter. Bye.
Nice. All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at MorningsgatePod. And yeah. So from Doug, from DJ, and from myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.